Find the quotient. Here we are dividing fractions. You need to keep the first fraction, switch your division to multiplication, and switch the second fraction. After you multiply straight across, you need to then simplify or convert your improper fraction to a mixed number. What is 25% of 145? Remember that word of means to multiply. Before we can multiply, we need to take our 25% and turn that into a decimal. We can do that one of two ways. We can divide by 100, or we simply can just take our 25% and move our decimal point over twice. So we will have 0.25 times 145. And you will solve that to find the answer. Evaluate the expression. Here we are using PEMDAS to evaluate our expression. Remember, we are using parentheses first, so we need to close out our first set of parentheses. We are adding, and we have 1/3 plus 9/1, and we need to get a common denominator. So we are going to have 1/3 plus, and we need to multiply this one by 3. So we are going to get 3/27. That is what we're going to do first. And then once we add those, then we are going to get 27/3 will be our first answer here. So 27/3 is really what we get. And then we can rewrite, oopsie, we don't want that minus there. Rewrite the rest of our problem. And then you can solve your next set of parentheses. Find the area. Answer without units. We need to split this shape. We're actually going to split this shape into 3 different shapes. The first thing we're going to find is the area of rectangle 1. And we know that an area of a rectangle is our base times our height. And then we need to find the area of rectangle 2. And the area of a rectangle obviously is base times height. And then we're going to need to find our area of our triangle. And the area of a triangle is our base times our height divided by 2. And then we need to take and get our total area. And to find our total area, we need to add up this area plus this area plus this area to get our final answer. The orange will be our final answer. And you are answering this without units. What is the mean of the data? Remember, our mean is our average. And with the mean, all we're doing is we are adding our data together. And then once we get our total, we got to count how much there is. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After we get our total, we are going to divide by 10. What is the median? And median is the same as the middle. So in order to find the median, we need to order from least to greatest, which they have already done. And then we underline until we get to the middle. Here we have two middle numbers, so you need to know what to do when there are two middle numbers to find the actual median or the middle. What is the mode of the data? Our mode means the most. So we need to look at our 19. When we have 22s, then we have 24s, 26s, 28s, and 30s. And looking at my underline there, you need to determine which one has the most. What is the range of the data set? So the first step for finding the range is to order from least to greatest, which we already have done. Our second thing is to identify our min and our max. After you identify the min and your max, you are going to do max minus min equals range. Draw a box and whisker plot for the data set. So here is our data set. We're looking at a box and whisker plot. The first step, though, we need to do is put our data in order from least to greatest. So we need to rewrite this data set, because then second, we need to identify our min and our max. We need to find our median, which is also our Q2. We need to find our Q1, and we need to find our Q3, and those need to match the box and whisker plot. If point A is located at -3, -1, and there are 10 points between A and B, what could the possible coordinates be for point B? So we have A is at -3, -1. We know we can go to the right, we can go to the left, we could go up, and we could go down. So if we are moving to the right, we know that our x is going to change and our -1 will stay the same. I'm going to erase this because that's going to change. If we are going to the left, our x is going to change, but our -1 is going to stay the same. If we are going up, our -3 will stay the same, and our y will change. If we are going down, our -3 will stay the same, and our -1 is going to change. So we automatically know that anything well, we can't really go there yet. Okay. So we need to determine our right, our left, our up, and our down. So we need to find 2 x's and 2 y's. So you have to move to the right. If you start at a -3 and you move to the right 10, you're always moving 10 spaces. So if you were to move 10 spaces to the right, you need to determine where would you land on the number line. And that's what goes here, and check the box. If you were to start at -3 and you were to move 10 spaces to the left on the number line, where would you land? And that's what you write here. Check that box and you're good. If you start at -1 on your vertical number line and you move up 10 spaces, where would you land? Write it there, mark that ordered pair. If you were to start at -1 and move 10 spaces down on the vertical number line, where would you land? Write that number here, mark it off, and that's your 4 different possible coordinates for B. Plot the following points to create a rectangle. So we're plotting points. Find the missing vertex. All right, we're creating a rectangle. So we have 1, 5, -1, 5, and -1, -5. So what point do you think is missing? If we're looking at this, we have a 1 and a 5. We have a -1 and a 5. We have a -1 and a -5. What point are we missing? The only point that we are missing here, we have our positive, positive. We have our negative, negative. We have our negative, positive. Which one are we missing? This is our positive, positive. Here's our negative, positive. Here's our negative, negative. They're all 1/5s. We got to keep them the same. What are we missing?